Okay, I'm just going to share some ideas, just some thoughts. I'm not going to be playing. And things that I've worked on, things that have helped me. I've been playing guitar for over 50 years. I'm not some brilliant guitar player, but I have gotten better. And some of it has been from the stuff I'm going to share here. I have a couple things in no particular order. One would be don't noodle. Seems to me like an awful lot of guitar players sit down and they'll say they're practicing, and what they end up doing is just noodling on the guitar. And to me, that's like sitting down to a fine meal, and instead of eating the entree and all the side stuff and the salad, you go straight to the dessert. Go into stuff that you already know. I mean, that's why I say when people noodle, they play stuff that they already can play, so you've already learned that. What's the benefit of that? It's a skill you already have. I know maybe it makes you feel better that you can play something that sounds good, people compliment you or pat you on the back. But if it's a skill you already learned, you want to move on. So what I do when I practice, 90% of the time, I try to practice stuff that I suck at. Things that I realize, I can't do that. I want to develop the skill. So I would say sit down when you practice with a specific objective in mind. Whatever it is you realize you need to work on. Maybe it's your picking technique or scales, whatever kind, modes, your comping, music reading, soloing, whatever it might be. Have a specific objective. Try to work on that. Number two, be honest with your weaknesses. Almost everyone, I think, could sit down and watch someone else play and say, oh man, that guy's got bad time, or wow, they don't solo very well, or, they don't, whatever it is. You can be objective about other people and you can see the problem area. But very often with ourselves, we can't see that. So try to step back and be honest and determine, wow, I need to work on this. My chording's not very good. I can't play in time. My picking hand's really kind of weak. Determine what it is that's a weakness in your playing, and then how you specifically can work on those skills. Also, record yourself. I was in an online guitar group about 5 or 6 years ago. And part of the thing was every month they worked on a different tune. And you would record yourself at the end playing this jazz standard. And I had never really done that before. I videotape myself with my iPhone. And watching that back, I learned so much of things that I did, weird quirks or body language that I would, telegraph through my face when I played a bad note. If you don't make faces, the audience doesn't know. Maybe they thought you meant to play that, right? Or tension in my hand or in my body, my shoulders. So record yourself and sit back and watch it. You might be surprised. You might see things. Well, I got really bad posture, or my hand position is really bad, whatever it might be. Try that out. And fourth, I would say be patient. You can't say, well, hey, I'm going to work on my picking technique and try it one day. Well, I tried it. Didn't happen. It takes months to get anything that you're working on to get into your playing, at least for me. It makes me think of the great Michael Brecker, who was a great jazz tenor sax player. He passed, I think, back in the beginning of the 2000s. Excuse me, but there's a great video on YouTube where he was at North Texas State and talking to the jazz students and saying, as brilliant as this guy was, he said, for him, when he would practice and work on a new concept, he'd work on it and work on it, and it would take months to finally slowly come out in his playing. So I find the same thing. If I work on technique or some kind of concept, say harmonic information I'm working on, it's one thing to physically get it under my fingers, get that sound in my ear, but then it's another whole thing for it to come out of my playing. I may have to work on it for months and months, rather than trying to force it. Oh, here's a great place, I can force it to this solo. It just takes a bit of time. So, all that to say, take your time, be patient. And then finally, I'd say, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't compare yourself to other people, or be down on yourself. Everyone has their own thing that you bring to the table or to the mix. If you're in a band, people dig playing with you, there's a reason for that. There's something that you're bringing. You may not play as well as a guitar player X, Y, or Z, but there's something that you do that, is beneficial. So just do your thing rather than comparing yourself. Oh, I don't play as well as that guy. I can't play as fast as this person or that. Try not to get hung up on that. And one final thing I'd say, there's this great book I read back when I was in college called the excuse me, Inner Game of Tennis. Now you may say, what does it have to do with music? Let me explain. When I was in college, I was a French horn player, and I could play fine in the practice room. But every semester, we'd have to do a jury, which is where you would play in front of the whole faculty of brass teachers. So the trumpet, French horn, trombone, tuba, all these guys in a local symphony orchestra. And it was intimidating. And as a brass player or a wind player, if you get nervous and you have your heart starts racing and you're short of breath, that affects your sound, right? It affects your playing. And it's kind of this downward spiral. You're not breathing deep enough and not getting enough air. Your tone suffers, or you start chipping notes and having problems. So I could practice and play well in a room, but once I was in front of people, there would be this voice in my head that was judging what I was doing. And that voice would get louder than anything else, and I would be distracted by that. So this book, The Inner Game of Tennis, talks about two selves. One self that just does the act. In the book, it might be hitting a tennis ball. But the other self is one that's critical and saying, oh, watch out, get your racket back, plant your feet, get ready, keep your eye on the ball, follow through, blah, blah, blah. And it's screaming all these things at you, and it can block out the other voice. And the point of the book, the guy's just saying, he teaches you how to turn that voice off and just do the action. So rather than making a judgment, oh, that was a bad swing, or I'm a bad tennis player, just say, oh, that wasn't just the swing I wanted, or that wasn't the shot I wanted, not placing a value on it, good or bad. So the same thing, you can apply that to music. I found out once I could play in front of people, and I realized they were probably there to support me. They wanted me to do well. They didn't want to be critical, fold their arms and look at me with a scowl on their face. And it's the same thing playing guitar. You know, sometimes you practice, wow, I sound great at home. And you get in front of people, and that voice takes over. So maybe check that book out. It's The Inner Game of Tennis. And I think there's even now an Inner Game of Music, but I found The Inner Game of Tennis a better book by a guy named Michael Galway. I think it's Gallway. Great book. So I hope some of this was beneficial. And if so, I wish you all the best. Hope it helps you in your playing. And remember, folks, it's all about the journey, not the destination. So have fun making music. Enjoy the journey. God bless. Take care.